Welcome back to another episode of BullyBall. Today we have me, Alex, and my co-host Joseph. We haven't been able to really sync our schedules these last few weeks, so this is the first podcast that we've actually been on in probably like 2 or 3 weeks. So it's good to finally be back on together. How you doing out there in Florida? I know you're getting ready to make that move over to my side of the world pretty
Yep,
soon.
doing good. Got back from the game last week. I'll talk a little bit about it once we kick off the intro, but it was a quick in and out. Flying Saturday and we were out at like 6 a.m. Monday, so it was rough, but it was fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so this is our regular episode of where we preview who we are playing, which is the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to have a special guest on, one of my buddies from Spain. So he'll give us a good fans insight of the Falcons. So let's get into it.
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, check up on my ear. Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, I'm about to call the.
So, like we said, we're going to be previewing the Falcons week this week, but let's backtrack a little bit and have Joseph tell us a little bit about the game against the Panthers that he was at last week and how that experience was.
Yeah, so the Panthers game, we flew in on Saturday, I believe at like 1 or 2 p.m. We get to our hotel. We're staying like probably like 15, 20 minutes from the stadium walking distance. And, you see a couple 49er fans walking around downtown, but then you could tell as the night was going on, like started flooding the whole downtown area of 49er fans, and it was crazy. Um, we saw the bar that they were having the 49er Gold Rush event at. I didn't want to pay $75 to go, so I didn't go. But I saw that. Um, crazy stuff going down in that downtown. They had this food, like a bunch of places were giving out like food samples in the baseball stadium downtown. So we got on the stadium field uh, that Saturday night, and saw a couple Panthers fans here and there, but not much. Sunday rolls around, all the 49er fans, you could tell people were flying in that day. There was tons of them checking into our hotel. Everyone was hyped. They had this crazy their whole downtown area was huge, and then they had this one street where it was like a main street, and then there was a tiny little like alley, and there was like 15 bars in that tiny alley, and everyone was packed in there. It was crazy. There's probably like thousands of people in that little tiny alley just drinking, pre-gaming. We were in there with everyone. It was a good time. Then we all started walking to the game, and 49er fans had the whole bottom of the stadium filled. Like in our section, there was maybe 20, 25 Panther fans, and the rest were 49ers. I didn't really see up top, but like the whole bottom row was all 49er fans. But the game was weird. Like you never really felt like it was just like loud when the 49ers were on defense. It was still hella loud when the Panthers were on defense, and when we were on, it was like loud but not really loud. And one of the funny things from the game is, as you know, Bosa went out in like the second quarter or something like that, pretty early in the second quarter. There was this one 49er fan towards the bottom of our row yelling, "Let's go, Bosa!" the whole game when our defense was on the field. And I'm like, hey, what the hell? This dude ain't even in the game right now. It was hilarious. And then obviously, Panthers fans that did stay past like the third quarter started a fire mat rule chant. I posted it on our shorts, and it was hella loud, like in the whole stadium. So I wish I could have saw his face on like the camera when that was happening. But it was a great game to go to. Charlotte was a pretty cool area to see, and it was a great game, but you had the Emmanuel Mosley injury, and it kind of sucked the life out of the stadium towards the end of the game. but it's football. It goes on.
Yeah, and some bad news to kind of piggyback off of that was that a report came out today that Jason Verrett's dealing with some knee soreness. So he's going to be delayed another week. I think they said next Wednesday they'll start practicing with him again and kind of see what's going on. The 49ers are staying right now since we're playing in Atlanta. They're staying in West Virginia at the Greenbrier, which they've done previous seasons. So sticking on the East Coast, Kyle Shanahan's a big believer in like the time difference affecting players. So they're staying on the East Coast. They can stick with that time difference, not have to like travel back and forth, which is pretty smart. But yeah, I know I kind of broke down the Panthers game on a little live video yesterday. So if you missed that, go check that out. It just my thoughts. My dad hops on a little bit, talks with me. So it was a good one. Circling back on it though, before the game, you said your bully of the week candidate was Dre Greenlaw. After watching the game, who would you say your bully of the week was? For myself, I said Jawan Jennings. He only had a couple catches for like 45 yards, but he made the most of those 45 yards, and he was running with that dog in him. He was going for contact, big third downs that he was catching too. So that was my bully of the week for last week. Who's yours?
Yeah, as the season has gone on, he's got back to how he looked at the end of last year, where it's like, hey, you could believe in the guy. You could throw it to him in the clutch. He's going to get it done. And that's good because that's what the 49ers need from him. Offensive side of the ball, I could see that. You could say him, maybe Jeff Wilson. He was running very hard. Yeah. You could even say Jimmy. He wasn't physical, but he was picking on them on their defense on third downs. Very efficient. I could stick with Dre Greenlaw though. I could say that was successful because this dude's been flying around, looking like a top linebacker in the league these past couple weeks with how he's just flying sideline to sideline, making all the tackles, cleaning everything up. Hufanga every week is obviously going to be a consideration. This dude makes at least one play, maybe two or more every week. Yeah, other than that, D-line kind of, they played good considering all the injuries, but nothing like too standout-ish. So yeah, I'm sticking with my guy. And the Panthers guy I had said Derek Brown was his bully of the week, and I think that sticks as well too. He was tearing us up a little bit.
Yeah, he was the one that blocked the field goal too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
And he was also doing really good on defense. Yeah, Dre Greenlaw, I think he had 11 tackles. So once again, another game with 10 plus tackles, which is great. I think another underrated candidate for bully of the week last week could have been Mooney Ward. That dude was bullying those receivers. He had multiple pass breakups, and he's bound to get an interception soon because they keep trying him for some reason. I talked about it in yesterday's video. They keep trying him. If he keeps playing like this, he's bound to get a pick. It's just bound to happen. You know what I mean? So it's it's interesting. There's a lot of players that really were bullying people out there last week. Hopefully they can continue that into this week against the Falcons. Of course, we're dealing with a bunch of injuries right now. Let me see if I can pull up the practice report real quick.
Yeah, and Mooney Ward did give up that one 30, 40-yard catch, but that he was right with them. You legit couldn't have covered that better. It was just perfect throw. Dude got his hands up last second, perfect catch. The ball probably was within a couple inches of his hand, swatting it away. So he's been playing great. And it was unfortunate. I saw Jimmy Ward. He was a captain. He was out there when they did the coin flip, and the dude went out first play of the game. 49er luck. Just these injuries, it's just insane how this team deals with injuries and how it's all the star players every single year. It's nuts.
Yeah, the good thing for Jimmy Ward is at least it's a broken hand, I believe. So he can throw a club on. I think that's what best case scenario is. He can throw a club on, and he never really gets a lot of picks anyways. So, I mean, just having him out there, even if he is wearing a club, is going to be big for this defense, no matter where he's playing in the slot, in the box, as a single high safety, because that dude can do it all. That's the key about him. I know that first play they had Deshaun Gibson at safety, and then they had Jimmy Ward in the slot. So, he has that versatility. The Niners definitely need it right now with all these injuries.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you lose E-Man, and that Emmanuel Mosley has been playing like a top. I don't know how the rest of the corners in the league are doing, but he's looked top 20 corner in the league at least this year. Dude deserves to get paid. Very unfortunate. But you had Jimmy Ward back. So you could have just slid Jimmy Ward in at your slot and moved whoever your best slot corner, because those two guys are probably going to be the ones playing outside between Demo and Womack. Could have moved whoever was the best out of them outside. And you probably, obviously, they aren't going to hold up the same as Emmanuel Mosley because he's playing insane. But that would have been more ideal than what they're going to have to do now. And, teams are going to take shots now on the corners. And I was actually surprised how many times the Panthers tested the 49ers corners in that game. They were throwing a lot of deep shots one-on-one versus the corners.
Yeah. I kind of talked about it yesterday too. I thought Demo Lenore struggled a little bit. He started at slot, and then once that injury happened, he kind of kicked out, and Womack went inside at slot. But I thought Demo Lenore struggled, and you saw those same struggles that you saw last year, which was vertical speed. Those deep pushing routes. I think Shai Smith did like a slot fade or something, and he got over the top of Demo. So that's something to watch for, because we saw it last year too. The play I vividly remember the most is against the Eagles. I think it was Quez Watkins on the sideline, burnt Demo Lenore deep, maybe for a touchdown or if not a huge gain. So, yeah, that's going to be kind of unfortunate. What do you expect, or what would you want to see at corner? Would you want to see maybe start out with Ambry outside and then Womack or Lenore in the slot, or Lenore outside, Womack in the slot?
So from what Kyle Shanahan was saying is it looks like Ambry's like deep on the depth chart. Like he ain't coming in. So I wouldn't expect him to play. What I would do is I would put Womack outside just because the dude's a rookie. He has that playmaking ability. They're going to test whoever it is anyways. Have the guy that, he's known to create pass breakups. He's going to struggle. Give him the reps, whatever. Let it happen. Kind of like Burford. Throw him to the fire. Leave Demo inside because that's what he's been playing. And obviously he beat out Womack for that job, over the first couple of weeks. So leave him there. And I say throw Womack outside.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I kind of said too, was that, at least Womack has that nose for the football. You know what I mean? He's, at least in the preseason, it was causing turnovers. So hopefully he can bring that to the defense now in the regular season, because they're definitely going to need it. Back to the injury report, though. So these already rolled out for the game. You have Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw. So you're missing your two best interior defensive linemen already for the week, same as last week. Emmanuel Mosley, of course, probably just waiting to put him on IR. Jimmy Ward is out as well, and Trent Williams. Questionable, you have Nick Bosa, Aaron Banks, and Tyler Kroft. Bosa, I talked about it yesterday's video. I would probably hold him out. I would opt to hold him out. You still have these injuries, but Ebukam, he was on the injury report earlier in the week, but now he's cleared. He's good to go. So you have Ebukam back. You still have Omenahu, Hyder, Kamoko Toure, Drake Jackson. You still have some decent depth there. And you're playing on another turf field in Atlanta. So you don't want something more significant to happen to Bosa. So I would probably hold him out this week as well if I was the coach. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And out of that whole list, I think the biggest one that you don't want to miss the game is probably Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
In my opinion, out of all those names, all those players are great, but the O-line is the one that you need to be sound this week. Hold Bosa out, let him be 100%. You don't want a groin injury lingering all season. That would be terrible. So just leave him out another week. You need him full go for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And, this is a trap game, away game, opposite side of the country. Like you said, 49ers stayed over, and that's worked well for them. Probably the best mediocre team in the NFL right now in like a weird way. You know what I mean? Like they're a team that could probably beat anybody any week, and they could lose to anybody any week. So it's your classic trap game, but I think the 49ers have the depth to get the job done. They just need sound, clean O-line play. And you're already missing Trent Williams. Jalen Moore did okay last week. Gave up a big sack, but then other than that, pretty clean game. If you're missing Banks on that side too, you're in for a rough week. I don't care what D line you're playing.
Yeah, definitely one of the most underrated players on the team. I wouldn't say he's underrated in the NFL, but he has been significant for this 49ers offensive line. So yes, I agree. If Aaron Banks is out, that's going to be big. I think it was I believe I saw a report that said it was knee soreness or something from playing on the turf.
Yeah,
something like that. So
and he was limited yesterday.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too serious, so that's good. Looks like Bosa was back to practice today as well, which is interesting. That's going to be something to watch for sure because you really don't want to get season-long injury or something that's just going to be nagging the whole time. So that's going to be unfortunate if that's the case. And then Robbie Gould was also back full go. So he is also going to be playing this week, which is big because last time we had a backup kicker in, it was against the Seahawks 2019, you remember? Can't remember the guy's name, and he missed that kick to win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you definitely don't want a backup kicker in. I think our guest just got on. If you can hear us, give us a thumbs up.
Let me throw him on the stream. I don't think he could hear us if he's not on the stream.
Oh, really? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Right. Yeah, yep. We're good.
I'm trying to figure out this whole ordeal. First of all, it was good to see you before I get started. I'm having a hard time hearing. I don't have a mic. I don't have a mic or a headphone setup. I'm on my phone. Sorry, I thought my Beats headphones would be able to do it anyway. It's good to see y'all, man.
Yeah, you too.
How's it going?
So let me give a little introduction before we get it kicked off. This is my good buddy, Darius Davis. We served together in the Navy out here in Spain. Definitely one of my closest friends, a mentor, a fellow Sacramento Kings fan as well. So that's something you don't see a lot, especially not being from California. We struggle out here together. We struggle in silence. But yeah, diehard Falcons fan, has been watching for a while. Pick six at the stick, if you remember that a few years ago. The Julio Jones catch in 2019. So, there's been some good games, 49ers Falcons games for sure. Looking into this season, though. Oh, I don't know if that is that you or is that us? Could you hear us?
I can hear you. Sorry, I'm just leaning in so I can be able to hear.
Okay. Looking at this Atlanta Falcons team, what can we kind of expect from the offense? Because I've been seeing a lot of things that you guys are running more of like a smash mouth offense, trying to run the football a lot and not pass as much. What can you tell us about the offensive game plan?
Oh man, first, like I said, I wanted to mention again, thank y'all for letting me be on. I'm a fan of Bully Ball. I love the name. I've loved seeing the development of you guys' show. I'm not gonna lie, all this 49er stuff is making me sick. But hey, before we were even born, the 49ers and the Falcons used to be in the same division. So there's still a rivalry, even though y'all went off to the west, right? But yeah, let's talk about these 2022 Atlanta Falcons, man. The first thing that can be described about the offense is gritty, hard nosed, and slow. It's a slow starting offense. They play better in the second half of the court of the half. So the second and fourth quarter, they're better teams, but they're so slow.
Gotcha. So what does this offense kind of look like without Cordell Patterson? He was your guys' easily the best playmaker. You still have
By
Kyle
far.
Pitts, of course, but Patterson seemed like the engine of this offense. How has it looked without him? I know you guys have Tyler Algier and Huntley, I believe his other running back's name.
Yeah. Caleb Huntley, Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley. We actually have a second-year DB converted into running back out the backfield, Avery Williams as well. So I can break it down. So the Falcons for years didn't have an identity. This year, as we've seen, I think it was really the Cleveland game that people started calling the Falcons a run team, because Cleveland is known as a run team, and we outran Cleveland with those dual backs. So Tyler Algier, rookie, but one thing about these guys, they're young and inexperienced, but they run hard. They're still trying to prove themselves. And our offensive line, who's been a joke for the past years. Yeah, I'm a Falcons fan. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a delusional Kings fan, but as a Falcons fan, I keep it straight. They've been able to really find something with the running game, even though y'all took Alex Mack away from us. Anyway, I'm gonna hold that back. Yeah, these guys are young. You might not see too many big runs pop off, but you'll see a good 5-yard, 3-yard run, then a 13-yard run, and it's just they're relentless. Yeah.
Definitely.
So I got a question. So
What's up, man?
do you think the Atlanta Falcons offense is going to stick to that game plan this week? Because 49ers obviously are missing pretty much their whole starting defensive line.
Right.
So it would be easy to say, like, hey, just stick to the game plan, play the game out. It's going to work. Or do you see they lost?
I brought up the Cleveland game because Atlanta Falcons fans, we are seeing this 49ers game like the Cleveland game, which was a couple of weeks ago, which Cleveland was missing their starting defensive front. Just like you guys, hope my boy Javon get better. Ken Law. But it is something to see that y'all defensive line, it's injuries, but for y'all still to be a top defense in the league. I really think that, setting up with the Falcons offense against this defense, it's going to be a tall order, but we don't have any other options. We're one-dimensional. Marcus Mariota is not going to win us the game. We have to run the ball. That's the reason why we're so successful, because that's like the one thing we can kind of do right. Yeah.
Definitely.
So you don't think they'll try to take any shots on a rookie corner, replacing
Man,
Emmanuel
okay,
Mosley?
so I'll explain the Falcons' offense, because it's run heavy And of course, with run heavy, you want to set up the play action pass. The Falcons don't work the play action pass for intermediate passes. You're going to see this. You got some rookie cornerbacks. They're going to take deep shots out of a play action pass. They run it quite often, a pure running formation, and there's only two receivers that's running routes, and they're running like deep. Just the idea is if they can connect with the talent they got out there, it increases Marcus Mariota's confidence, which is shaky.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, so speaking about Marcus Mariota, taking over for Matt Ryan, how's that transition kind of been? Because I know he's been kind of up and down. He's a mobile quarterback. Are you guys running him? Because the 49ers defense struggles against mobile quarterbacks. So
you're not going to see Marcus Mariota run like maybe like a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Just they're going to continuously run you until you, not so much Josh Allen, but Lamar Jackson or so, Kyler Murray. But we will do a designed quarterback option. And he's trying to, this is our biggest problem with him. It feels like he's still trying to find his way as an NFL quarterback. So at times when he can scramble, he won't. At times he'll try to scramble and it's like, I should have tossed it away. But that's better than I'm not saying Marcus Mariota is better than Matt Ryan, but with our offensive line being so bad in pass protection, and they're not the best at pass protection this year either, you have the ability to extend the play. And as you can see with Matt Ryan this year, with an offensive line that can't give him time, he can't make much magic happen. So there's an excitement that Marcus can do something, even if the play breaks down, that kind of keeps us entertained by Marcus Mariota. I've been a big Matt Ryan fan, but it was time to go. I don't like how they did it, but you just hope that both sides kind of work out. Hopefully they can turn that season around over there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Before we turn over to the defensive side, two big playmakers that you guys have as receivers. You have, of course, Kyle Pitts and the rookie Drake London, who started off extremely hot, at least from a fantasy perspective. The dude was putting in work, But Kyle Pitts has been a huge letdown this year. So what's kind of been going on with those two?
Okay, man, I'll tell you this, right? Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Kyle Pitts is number one. For targets. So when the ball is getting to them at a good percentage of the time, it's an uncatchable ball, right? The Kyle Pitts mystery is kind of falling into, I don't know if you guys can recall, the Julio Jones mystery. You get all these yards, but you're not getting touchdowns. Now for Kyle Pitts this year, you're not much getting the yards either. But I think because the coach is having to dig in his bag with lack of talent, that they understand that the defense is going to get to take Kyle Pitts away. You can't ignore him. You guys got a monster tight end, right? They have to scheme to stop those guys first. Now, maybe more for you guys, you got Debo, but and that's where Drake London started to get his own receptions. He started winning one-on-one routes. And Kyle Pitts was out last game, so we stopped, let's say in the Cleveland game, we stopped throwing the ball, right? You're not going to get receptions to anybody if you're going to run the ball, and it's been successful. So I think above selfish and me attitudes, you see these guys that are dedicated to run blocking. Pitts, who he improved on run blocking tremendously this year, and Drake London is physical out there run blocking. So the coach is getting out of these guys the dirty work, and it's not showing in what we like to see in fantasy of big yards to say, hey, my guy is better, but collectively it's showing that the team is doing whatever they need to do to, try to win the game.
Yeah, definitely. Joseph, you got some questions?
Yeah, so let's hop over to the defensive side of the ball. So, you guys got a lot of good pieces, but is it a good defense, or is it just a lot of good individual, players on the defense?
Okay. The Falcons defense, you're going to get probably the best out of the defense in the fourth quarter. It's one of those things about this team that you're not going to break away from them offensively, but you're going to score. And your playmakers are going to make plays against this defense. They do have a tendency to get really tight and stingy at the end of games. So even though, let's say for the last week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers was up 21-0, but those guys went to the end zone, the red zone, like 3 times. Only came out with a couple of field goals and touchdowns. This is Brady, Mike Evans, Mike Goodwin, the whole squad. Leonard Fournette, they got shut out from scoring. From the end of the third quarter on to the fourth quarter. So the defense, they'll make the adjustments, but is it enough for the offense to catch up? And we've seen that it hasn't been enough in 2 games this year.
So that's interesting. It kind of sounds like how the 49ers are. The defense is kind of carrying the brunt of the load, and then the offense is just doing just enough to get by to win these games. So would you say a key for the 49ers, if they want to win this game, is to pretty much start out hot, get up big, and then hope that the defense can kind of hold your all's offense at least
and sustain it. Don't take your foot off the gas. One thing about this 49ers team is that they have that composure on offense. They have that confidence to know that they can go up against anybody, and we belong there. And so I think that if there was issues on the 49ers, let's say offensively, the Falcons have been known to be a team in which you can kind of adjust and get yourself right on the path. So if somebody had been having a few down games or whatnot, they surprisingly come out against the Falcons and do well. So this game isn't a game that most of us fans have marked off on the calendar as a win. We are excited to see this team not quitting, but it's going to be I was trying to talk trash to you, Alex, but I was like, I'm my teammate. I ain't got enough behind it, It's going to be a good game. It's going to the Falcons is one of the most exciting teams to watch in the league. They're not blowing you away with highlights, but the game's always interesting. And I think we're going to have another interesting game this Sunday. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So you guys you're 2-3, but you've only lost by 10 points total between those 3 games. So, would you say they just don't know how to win? Because, there's teams where they just don't know how to win yet. And then once they learn that, they're a good team.
That's a good question. It's not that they don't know how to win, right? Because they come into the game fully expecting to win and do their best to win. It's just what every NFL team's looking for is to play 4 complete quarters of football. And you win games being not scoring through the first 3 quarters and think you can catch up. That happened. We was down. I'm not going to say the score, but against the Rams, we was down a famous or infamous number digit, and we were on our way coming back. Last week, you seen it. All right. You seen what happened with the Tom Grady Jarrett. They robbed an opportunity to see can this Falcons team come all the way back and complete it. That question for me still, because we was riding off of 2 games win streak, from last week. So they can win the game. They'll make it tough. And Marcus, I know, but Brian is one of the most turnover-prone quarterbacks in the league. Every game he's had a fumble in the fourth quarter, and he has mindless interceptions as well. So it's shooting yourself in the foot and trying to recover from that, all while taking your man out. And they're actually one of the least penalized teams in the league. That's what keeps them in. You read off that the score total. They're a disciplined team. So if they're not beating themselves, you got to beat them, and you got to beat them, and you got to beat them the whole game, because they're not going to stop. So yeah.
Gotcha. Don't mind the technical difficulties from Darius. The guy has an Android. He's Team Android, so you can expect these from Team Android. Looking
That's
at
true. I'm sorry I'm leaning in on the podcast and everything, but I just want to make sure I hear everything. I'm just so excited to be with you guys, man. I miss you, my brother. It's good to see you, and it's good to meet you, the brother. I feel like I'm already part of the family already. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's good
Definitely.
to meet you. What do you guys think, though? I know this is your podcast, but what do you guys think about the Atlanta Falcons coming in this week? What kind of opponent are y'all seeing?
Joe, if you want to tackle that.
Yeah, so me and all my guys at work, we always talk about teams, and the Falcons are a team that we're like this. I even said it earlier when we started the podcast before you came on. This is like the best mediocre team, like in the middle of the pack in the league
Yeah,
this
true.
year. To me at least, like they're going to be a fun team that can beat any team any week, but they could also lose to any team any week. And
Yeah.
you have a lot of good players on the team. It's just, can they pull it all together? It's kind of like the 49ers before that Super Bowl year. They kept losing games by like 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, and they just couldn't put a full game together. And I feel like that's kind of where you guys are at. You need a quarterback, in my opinion, but it's a team that's going to be fun to watch every week, and it's always going to be close. And that's what I see.
What do you, as far as Jimmy G, you guys, Jimmy G's like that consistent person that may not be the best for you, but they're there when it don't seem like too many other people is there for you. What are 49ers fans saying about Jimmy Garoppolo, man?
It's one of those things that it's frustrating, because Jimmy G, it's hard to fully support him because he has such bad games, every couple of games, but then he has so many good games to where you're like, who are you getting this week? He could come into this Atlanta game and he'll throw you a pick six right away, and you're like, all right, this game probably going to be a wrap pretty soon.
Right.
But he could come out, drive you right down the field, score a touchdown, and you're like, all right, Jimmy's on this week. It's just, he's so consistently inconsistent that it's hard for us as fans.
Do you feel like if you had a more, the 49ers would be, I guess, considered more of a national contender? I don't think nobody's writing off the 49ers, but if you had a more consistent quarterback, they'd be right up there with the Bills and Eagles, and as far as Chiefs, as far as play, because y'all have been a complete team for a while now,
Yeah, I think the 49ers would be thought of more as like the Chiefs, where it's like you're going to have a hard-ass time beating this team any week if they had a quarterback of that caliber. But, it's tough because there are only so many of those guys in the league that it's hard to get one of those guys. You know what I mean? They try to do it with Trey Lance, and we'll see how that pans out. But you know, you gotta roll with who you got at the moment.
Have y'all I'm getting back into the swing of things here, and Trey Lance I didn't get a chance to see much before. Unfortunately, he got hurt as well. But was the promise there? Was the optimism there, or was it still like so green it's hard to tell?
I think you kind of saw both sides of it. You know, you saw the things that Jimmy can't do. You know, he was taking those deep shots and he was hitting them. But then you also saw the like 5-yard outs that he was missing, and you know the little like screen passes that he was missing. So like you saw the highs and you saw the lows that you're gonna have to deal with to get the consistent highs later on.
One thing I would tell 49ers fans, now this hasn't been because the Falcons have been surprisingly winning a few games, but it's been the Browns and Seahawks, so it's nothing to write home about, but they've considered the Falcons to have the worst roster. But you, well, I'll get back to that. But with the Falcons, man, if we had a quarterback, which a lot of fans feel is on the roster, right? So if the Falcons, let's say, unfortunately, because last year when we played you guys, I was on a plane to Japan. Alex sent me a message laughing, and so I didn't even want to look at the score. I looked at the score, and we were blown out. I'm not even gonna watch the highlights, right? This year, I do feel as though if Marcus Mariota isn't able to bring any kind of excitement in the first half, any kind of movement, there's a possibility, right? And nobody's really saying it yet. There's a possibility you might see our rookie quarterback into the game, Desmond Ridder, which who knows if that brings but we do have a little situation. So it's not like, Jimmy G, you got to perform because Trey Lance is there and this team is ready, But you might get a chance to see Ridder if Marcus is not able to move the ball in the first half.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
49ers would love to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a rookie quarterback.
The Atlanta offense isn't moving the ball, so then they got to throw in the rookie. And with our defense, we would feast on a rookie. At least you would assume, unless Ridder is going to come out looking like Pat Mahomes or something.
Well,
One matchup that I'm looking at before we get into our last segment is, I believe you guys' outside or middle linebacker, Michael Walker. He's out for this week, right? Or is he questionable or something?
Yeah. So you want to know kind of what's our linebacker situation?
Yeah. So I was just saying with that guy being out or questionable, can the 49ers take advantage of that by using George Kittle, or is your guys' linebacking core really solid to where they're going to be able to blanket up Kittle for the most part?
Okay, it's a good question, man. Michael Walker was getting absolutely killed by Leonard Fournette in the passing game, right? And he got hurt, and then Leonard Fournette in the passing game went away. The Falcons drafted, I think we talked about it. The Falcons drafted this linebacker, Troy Anderson, who actually played quarterback in college as well, I believe. But he's an athlete, 4'4". He's bigger than Deion Jones, who we just traded. Michael Walker is a big guy as well, but he's fast. He was the fastest linebacker. So he was able to cover down on the wide receivers. So that's a rookie. That's late games adjustment. Now, have we seen a tight end like George Kittle this year? No, not even close. Even to the fact that George Kittle will probably see a lot of our second-year safety. As a rookie, because he played, he's and he can be had, but he plays hard. I think that's the matchup you'll see against Kittle, and of course you got to put somebody underneath. So Michael Walker is not playing. Troy Anderson made a difference. He was picking up where Michael was lacking. The one thing that Michael Walker does is he's the guy with the green dot on the helmet on the defense. So who's gonna call the plays? Who's gonna get everybody together? Everybody set. That's a big presence, your D coordinators off the field. So it's yet to be determined because he wasn't shutting down the middle of the field. So there could be even better presence behind him, or even worse, as a rookie, we're not beating the table, hoping that he shuts down George Kittle. Like I said, you guys playmakers. Debo with the jet sweep. Debo is going to get some catches. Terrell's going to get some plays against him too, but Debo's I would still start him in fantasy, and Kittle, you run those guys in fantasy. What's your game? We talked about the Falcons running game, and I'm glad we have an identity. I did see that Mr. Tevin Coleman signed back with the 49ers this week, which I love Tevin Coleman with Kyle Shanahan from the Falcons days, of course. But what do you say about the 49ers offense and their run game particularly?
Yeah, the run game really last week it did really well. I think Jeff Wilson had over 100 yards. I think over 125 yards at that as well. And then of course Tevin Coleman had a rushing touchdown and receiving. He had a screen for reception touchdown as well. So the last game, the run game was good, but you're also playing a beaten down Panthers defense.
It was the Panthers last week.
Yeah.
Okay. you get what you can get from the Panthers, but yeah,
exactly. So before that game, though, the run game has been struggling a little bit, and I think that's why you lost some of those games, because you're solely relying on Jimmy Garoppolo to win you a game solely on his arm, which, of course, as we know, Jimmy Garoppolo is at his best when he's playing complementary football with the run game.
Right, the play action. He's play action king.
Yeah,
one of them.
Exactly. Get the ball out quick because the linebackers are sucked up because they're fearing the run, and then Jimmy can get the ball out quick right behind those linebackers. That's when the 49ers offense is going to be at its best. So I think the key for this game, at least for the Niners, is going to be to get that run game going so we can see the same Jimmy Garoppolo that we saw last week, because he played extremely well. But what was happening as well, the run game was super successful. So those two go hand in hand. If you guys can stop the run game, it's going to be a long game for the 49ers offense.
The Falcons, I would say we aren't necessarily a defense that does any one particular thing right. Well, I would say, because they're in position. Teams can run, but that's not too many teams' identities, right? Especially if you're running and you're not getting those touchdowns. And the run game is the first thing to be abandoned. So it would be interesting to see. We can be had by receiving backs as well. So I think you can. We just played Tom Brady, so he's the check down king. So that's fresh in my mind anyway. So, not everybody runs their offense like that. But, if you can get him comfortable with those screens, the Coleman and everything, I do see y'all having success, like I said, on the offensive side of the ball. How often do y'all use Debo in the run game?
It's been a lot less this year, I would say. For example, last week, Debo only had 2 carries, which, I personally kind of like it a little bit more with Debo running less, because Kyle Shanahan likes to run Debo up in between the tackles,
Yeah.
and that's going to affect his longevity throughout the season and his career in general. So if you can get the run game going without Debo, that's just going to benefit your team more because Debo is also super dynamic as a receiver, as you know. I mean, of course, as you know, laying out AJ Terrell last year and etc. But so if you could have Debo as a receiver instead of a running back, then I think the Niners were going to be fine.
Yeah, because do you feel like sometimes you're just compensating for lack of run game? When they utilize them too much, as opposed to surprise. Here's a jet sweep to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the best time to use him is just when you need that juice, and when the run game's looking real bland and you're getting stopped. Then maybe give Debo that jet sweep or like that pitch to the outside, a counter. I think that's when you should utilize Debo in the run game, and I think that's when he's most effective. Not running halfback gut or an inside zone with Debo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was successful, but defenses are kind of picking up on that this year. I think for sure, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, defenses, you're not gonna. It's gonna be hard to keep gadgets going.
Yeah.
In consecutive years with these minds to get paid millions to stop those things. So yeah, I mean, we are missing our I'm not gonna call him a poor man's Debo. They're just kind of their own utility. Debo's utilized more as a wide receiver. Cordell, wide receiver turn running back, we are missing Cordell Patterson heavy, but what you mentioned earlier, Cordell last year started to kind of pace off because we were running him into the ground because he was on only offense. And so that's why you're seeing these other running backs that you've never even heard of before actually stepping up. They know that Cordell has a certain snap count, but we're going to miss that effect. I'm going to be jealous to see what y'all do with Debo.
Definitely. Joseph, do you have any other questions before we get into the prediction and then the bully of the week?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thank y'all for kind of putting up. I don't have the whole setup, but I do. I am happy, first of all, for being here. I'm excited to see the game. I'm still thinking about buying tickets to the game because I'm here in Atlanta now. So trying to get up with my guy just so I can see him before or after the game or whatever. But this game, I'm not really one to do predictions. I don't know what the spread is, but I would bet against it. I would bet in favor of the Falcons covering the spread because they're 5-0 against the spread this year. So if that's a win or a loss, I don't know. I just know it's going to be tight. I know it's going to be interesting, and the game's going to come down to the last couple of possessions for it to be over.
Gotcha. Joseph, what's your score prediction?
Score prediction, it's the perfect trap game. 49ers have one every year where they lose and they shouldn't. It's happened twice already this year, though. But anyways, this one, I think the 49ers, they're missing a ton of people, but I think they're still going to get the job done. Offensively, the offense is going to carry the load for once for change. I'm saying 27-17 49ers.
Yep. My score prediction is very similar. I was thinking the same score for the 49ers, 27. I think our defense, even though we're missing some key guys, I think we're still going to be able to contain the Falcons, especially in the run game, just because I think we have the best defense in the NFL right now, hands down. I think we'll be able to stop the run game. You don't have to worry too much about Marcus Mariota throwing, so I'm going to say 27-10 49ers. And then getting into our last segment, something that we like to do. This was actually suggested by Darius right when we started this podcast because Darius has been a day one fan. And and he actually suggested this segment way back then. So what we like to do, I'm sure as you know, is a bully of the week. So a player that really just gets down in them trenches, the nitty gritty, and just puts in that work. So who is a Falcons player that you think can be the bully of the week for this game?
I'm excited, man. I'm glad y'all added that feature, especially when I was covering. Sorry, we were covering. Like you said, I've been a fan since the beginning, and seen the interviews. And Jason Poe, is that the guard name that you guys talk to him? Y'all end up getting him anyway, still, and having him his bully ball session, and I really thought that was a fantastic feature that y'all included, and it embodies the name outside of just 49er material, because you can always clip it and put that as a short. So for all fans, so yeah, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, definitely. So who is your bully of the week candidate that you think from the Falcons side,
Man,
whether it's
that
on
is
offense or defense?
That is a good question. This is from the previous week, or just from
No,
who
for
to
this
be on the
game.
lookout for from
Yeah, to be on the lookout.
What's that?
To be on the lookout for this game.
Okay. He's not it's not an unfamiliar name. I think his name has been in the headlines this week. But Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle, 97. You're going to see him toss a lineman like a rag doll. He does it. He's good for it. He's been closing out games the last 3 weeks with a big sack, and it's pure bully ball. And he was gentle with Tom Brady. But what you see him, how physical he is against the offensive lineman, and how he moved those 270, 280, 300 plus guards and centers. It's a bully, man. He's a bully. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's rated as the best D tackle in the league right now. He has the most sacks at D tackle in the league right now, I believe, as well.
Man, he's insane, man.
Yeah.
He's insane.
So, Joseph, who's your candidate for bully of the week for the Niners?
My bully of the week for the 49ers is Charles Omenihu. He's starting at D tackle the past couple of weeks with all of our injuries in there. And the dude he's a nasty pass rusher. He's been so close so many times. 2 sacks this week for the guy. He's going to be wrecking some havoc back there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I'm on the lookout for him.
Yeah. So my bully of the week candidate to watch out for this week, the Niners really were trying hard last week to get him going, and they did, and then he fumbled the ball. We kind of talked about it earlier. So my guy is going to be George Kittle. I think we're going to feed him the ball, and he's going to take advantage of the rookie linebacker. You kind of saw it in 2019 when we played the Cardinals, and it was Justin Simmons' rookie year, and we had Justin Simmons just lost all over the field. I think if Troy Anderson was his name, right? The linebacker?
Troy Anderson, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't pull up the
I think George Kittle is going to be able
confident.
to use and abuse that man in the passing game, and I think George Kittle is going to have, I'm going to say, over 100 yards and a touchdown for George Kittle.
Okay, that is not anything out of fantasy. I see that because it's 2 of you guys, right? And you guys both chose your bullies. I would like to add one more, and I do think, Joe, that this guy may match up against your bully, so it might be a little bully on bully action. The Falcons currently have the number 1 rated right guard in the league, named Chris Lindstrom, one of the biggest forces behind the running game. So it's a line of scrimmage. The Falcons have never been known as a physical team, right? That's never been the Falcons' MO, has been finesse. But he plays, he's probably like fifth year in the league now, and first round draft pick, and he's moving people right now. So I think it's gonna be a physical, fun game. It's gonna have some 3-and-outs on both sides back to back, and then it's gonna have some excitement, matching scores. You guys put out predictions, and I normally don't do it, but y'all shooting too low. The Falcons they average over 20-something points a game, So I would say 26-23 either way.
I like it.
Robbie Gold. We got both teams have some of the best kickers in the league, and I do think the kickers are going to be utilized pretty heavy on Sunday. And I think that it's going to be one of those scores in which that field goals played a part in the final score. So
I like it.
Yeah, definitely. I could see both ways going for sure.
Turn it back.